Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Gorniak Attack, and welcome to another Total War fight. Here we have a little bit of a situation going on. Skarsnik himself has found himself in the woods trying to get to them stunties quicker. Unfortunately, his gambit is not paid off, and he's run into a whole force, beautiful looking force, of wood elves, willing to stop him at every cost for his trespassing. Right. This fight is brought to you by me, obviously, and a good friend, Shade Darko, who has been more than willing to help me with these fights. So, with nothing more to say on that, I'll quickly run through the army comms. Skarsnik, played by me, has brought in quite an elite force of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Black Orcs, with the Crimson Killers on the side there. Behind him, he's got some Arrow Boys, 1, 2, 3 units, 4 units of them, and then they're being flanked by some Orc Boar Boy Biguns, and the Regiment of Renown, the Broken Tusks mob, and then we also have the Arachnarok Queen, and we also have a Giant. So it's quite a small force, but very high, very elite. And Skarsnik himself, obviously, with his little pet squig, he looks just fantastic. And so do these orcs, actually. I mean, look at them. Absolutely brilliant. They're not black orcs, you know, they're blue by the looks of it. But you know what? They look fantastic nonetheless. And also, I forgot to mention, up at the top, the scouts. A bunch of Night Goblin Squig Hoppers and the Durkix Squigs. These are the guys scouting ahead for Skarsnik, and they run into the army. But you know what? Because they're crazy squig hoppers, they don't go back and tell Skarsnik. They just run in and engage. So that's basically it for the orcs slash goblins. And then over for Shade Darko's forces. He's got some Eternal Guard with Shield. Eternal Guard with Shield. He's bringing about a front line of them. And he's got a Tree Man, 2 Tree Men with his general, the Ancient Tree Man. At the front here, which is an absolutely fantastic looking unit, he's got some Firebark Elders, the Regiment of Renown Monstrous Infantry. They just look amazing. Seems really counterintuitive for them to be on fire. I don't know what the lore behind that is, what's going on really, but you know what, they look fantastic, and you know, they're cool as. It's the first time you're seeing them. Anyway. Behind this front line, he's got some Deepwood Scouts, he's got some Wildwood Rangers, and he's got some Wild Riders at the back. And he's also brought in some Great Eagles into the fight. Now, it's a very stretched, very sort of laid out format for his army. He's got a lot of movement, a lot of room. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he's got a little Waste Stalker here as well. I've just noticed him. And he's already firing because, of course, he can fire quite a distance, and my squigs are pretty close. Anyway, so that's the scenario. Only thing we can do now is see what happens. As we can see, the squigs rapidly charging in. Already getting absolutely destroyed. But you know what? They don't care. They don't care. Wow! Look at that. That was absolutely brutal. Well, most of us did. There we go. Quite an aggressive tactic from me, I know, but you know what? It seems like something Skarsnik would do. He's pretty crazy. He's a cunning guy. He's clever, but pretty crazy. I tried to get them through the front lines, trying to take out as many of the archers as I could, but you know what? They broke. They broke too quickly. Unfortunately, and so did the other guys. And the field shall be sprayed with excellence. Now here's something I failed to mention, because I actually completely did not see it in the fight. He's got 2 hidden units of Dryads here as well, and he launches quite a successful ambush. Totally at my surprise. Where's that sentence going? That's a completely mucked up sentence there. But there you go. I was completely surprised. There we are. There we go. I got it out eventually. But unfortunately for him, I just so happen to have my Crimson Killers right up close, and you know what? They have a field day with this. That's not a problem. Here they come. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shade here, so we can't really see too much of what's going on. Just little snippets through the trees. Makes for quite interesting lighting, actually. Nice little ambush fight there. But what he does now is quite an interesting move. And again, I did not see it coming. I was too wrapped up in what's going on here, getting my formation set, getting rid of these dryads. He actually sends in his great eagles. This catches me by surprise as well. That's what I was supposed to say early on. Catches me by surprise. Thank you. Yes. Anyway, so he comes down on my orc Arab boys and my black orcs with these guys fighting away. And then again, he sends in his wild riders. I was not expecting that. I was too wrapped up with the eagles. I was like, oh, okay, here's some eagles. And then all of a sudden, oh, okay, here's some wild riders. I was expecting him to play quite a defensive fight here, but he's been very aggressive, setting up some troops, and even his Firebark Elders are coming in to join the fight. And I'm thinking, alright, I might have to commit some more troops here, and this might be a bit much for my killers. And there's Skarsnik shooting off. Great Eagle's almost running from that. A big hit on him. And he's out of there. He's gone. He did not like what he saw there. And he's sending his other eagle away before things get too hairy. His dryads are breaking, because I've sent in my Ragnarok Queen. And now all he has left really in this fight are the Firebark Elders, because he's pulled out his Wild Riders as well. And they're wavering as well. Overwhelming numbers, and they're all alone. I love the fire sort of embering, burning thing that they leave behind. It looks awesome. They just look great. And it looks awesome in this light as well, because it's all very dark, and then you've got these beacons of tree men running away there. So I just let them run away, and I sort of reset my formation. That's his dryads handled, and fortunately some of his cavalry have taken a beating. His eagle, one of his eagles I believe, ran away, or has it come back in? Oh no, his eagle rallied. So he's managed to keep his eagles, and he's kept his cav, but he's lost his dryads sort of ambush there. He did a little bit of damage, quite a bit to them, but you know what, the Crimson Killers came out of there quite happy. And but unfortunately quite a bit of damage to some Arab boys. At this point, Skarsnik's pretty mad, and he sends up the full force. I go in for a full assault. And this is very cool. I like this. Very interesting maneuver from him, from Dark Shadow. It's a very into the frying pan, really. Hopefully he thinks he's going to try and be able to flank me. If I come into here, he's going to be able to flank with the tree men and surround me. But let's see what happens. Oh, I've got my Squig Hoppers back in the fight here. Trying to finish off these Firebark Elders. Apologies for the sound, it's very muffled there. It's very strange. I wonder if you can hear that. I can hear that in my headphones anyway. So here come the force. Giant's charging up. He's going to meet his tree man, and my Ragnarok's going to try and meet his other tree man and stop that from happening. And I suicide my Squigs just to try and disrupt his formation a little bit. I knew they weren't going to be much good for anything else. So I keep my orc boar boy biguns in the back, just as a little bit of support to see if they can flank somewhere. There's a little bit of space here which I utilise. So here we go, let's watch this. Giant versus tree man, having at each other, looks great. And we've got a good fight going on. There's some black orcs taking out his ancient tree man. There's eagles flying around, dive bombing, picking people up, going crazy. Ooh, big hit from ancient tree man there. There's Skarsnik. Horribly outsized, but he's not outmatched. Eagles are doing their bit. It looks amazing. Look at that animation. That orc went flying. It looks fantastic. And here's where my war boy Biggins managed to get through the back. And charge magnificently into the Deepwood Scouts at the back. But because I did that, it's actually allowed his Wild Riders to also fly through the back in the gap. And he's going to make full use of that space. And I've got my arrow boys there. Backs turned. Running too late at the last second from these Deepwood Scouts who are going to come in and absolutely annihilate them. Let's see what happens. Is it these guys they're charging into? Oh no, right, so he's got them coming in here. Unfortunately, they are just not going to survive. Look at that. Orcs flying everywhere. Teeth and brute force and deer and antlers and spears. And look at this guy. He doesn't know which way he's going. He's all over the shop. And he's going to land on an impact and that's probably going to kill him. And that's that. That's basically both of us managed to get our cavalry sort of flank on the go. His ancient tree man has been utterly annihilated by Skarsnik and my black orcs. He runs away. I don't think I managed to bring him down. I can't quite remember. He managed to get away. But at this point, it's not looking good for him. The black orcs have just completely outmatched him, unfortunately. His eagles have done a great job. Trying to whittle them down, and he brings in his Wildwood Rangers, fresh and confident in their fight. I love that animation, he just sends those orcs flying. He still has his Wild Riders, but balance of power is starting to turn in my favour. My Ragnarok Queen is still very much alive, and still completely destroying this tree man, unfortunately. Send my giant in to try and finish off this tree man. They sent him away again to try and get rid of the general, but it looks like the general, yep, he's made it away. Oh, he rallies, only if it is momentarily, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. The Wood Elves try and stop Skarsnik from getting through the forest, but through the forest he goes anyway. And we can see here, the Black Orcs did a pretty good job. My Crimson Killers definitely helping me out there. 96 kills from them without taking really much damage at all. My Arrow Boys, let's face it, completely useless in this fight. My Cavalry did pretty well. My Ragnarok Queen and my Giant, you know, they didn't do great, but let's face it, they were engaged with big tree men most of the fights, you know. I'm happy with them. They managed to sort of stop the flanking. The Squig Hoppers, you know, they're the scouts. They're kind of expendable. I always knew that I was going to throw them away. And Skarsnik himself getting only a couple of kills, but that's because he was engaged with the Ancient Tree Man most of the fight. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with how that went. Over on Dark Shadow's force, you know, pretty good around the board, actually. His Great Eagles, yeah, doing alright. His Wild Riders, though, really packing some damage, really hurting my my archers and everything. But quite low from the rest. His Waystalker did pretty well, and his Wildwood Rangers did well, but unfortunately not a great performance from his Eternal Guard. And he got a few from his Deepwood Scouts. Unfortunately, though, his Tree Men, not so great, and his Firebark Elders, again, not so great. But then again, I was bringing quite an elite force. Yeah, there you go, guys. Another fun installment of Total War Warhammer, and I hope to see you guys next time. Take it easy. Bye-bye.